November 10th, 2010, Markham, Ontario, Canada. Bich, Huei Han, and their daughter Jennifer Pan are in their home for the night. Around 10 p.m., 3 men burst through the door. It was a robbery. Or was it? When the night was over, Bich would be dead and Han would be in a coma, both shot in the face and head. Alive, their 24-year-old daughter, who'd called 911 while her hands were bound behind her back. Jennifer would give a statement to the Canadian police, but days later when her father woke up from his coma, he had an entirely different recollection of the night. This is Jennifer Pan, the perfect, deadly daughter. Hey y'all, I'm Chris Calvert.
And I'm her husband, Rob Potter. Welcome to Hitch to Homicide.
For better or worse.
Till death do us part.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome. And for our Finnish friends.
Yes.
Tervetuloa.
Very nice.
There you go.
You're getting so good at this. We're just traveling around the world, all the way from the studio in Kentucky.
Around the globe. Yeah.
Well, wherever you're listening, be sure to like, rate, review, subscribe. That helps other people to find us. You can join the In-Laws and Outlaws. Some of your new friends, let me tell you what, we've got some new ones.
Yep.
We love the answers you guys are giving.
Yeah.
So please answer.
We were actually just talking about it last night, saying everybody's really involved in the In-Laws and Outlaws.
They really are. And
yeah.
we love that.
Awesome.
We love that. I'm going to give a couple shout outs. Rebecca joined because her in-law outlaw friend Marty turned her on to us.
Nice.
And I want to welcome back Dina, who got hacked because her name and her photo was turned to Tina Turner. And then Facebook shut her down.
Oh, man.
And she wrote, "Bless those little hackers' hearts. We're glad to have you back."
Jeez, damn,
Dina, welcome back. And also welcome to members of our YouTube crowd who are joining the group.
Yeah.
So welcome to Chuck, who's a retired cop. I appreciate your compliments. I try to get things correct. So thank you very much.
Yes. Listen, we really appreciate you being a part of all this. People that have signed up on YouTube, all the listeners on the podcast, everything. We really appreciate it.
We do appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Yep.
I'm going to get started right away on this one. Very interesting. I even had to do some psychology.
And what
sources.
Did you say her name was? Here it comes.
Can I at least get started before you start on this?
I have to do it now.
Jennifer Pan.
Are you saying Pam? Panned?
There it is.
Okay.
And there it is. I knew it. I knew it. Before we get started, let me thank some sources. Ranker.com, the Edmonton Journal, the Vancouver Sun, the Leader Post, the North Bay Nugget, the Toronto Sun, EverybodyKills.com, Toronto CTV News, CBC, All That's Interesting, Toronto Life Magazine, True Crime Daily, and the American Psychological Association. There is a book. It's called A Daughter's Deception by crime writer Jeremy Grimaldi. I did not read it, but I will put a link in the show notes. It seems to be the most popular book on this true crime.
Cool. All right. Well, you ready?
I am.
All right, let's do it.
Bich Ha and Huei Han Pan are Canadian immigrants.
Okay.
Han was raised and educated in Vietnam, although originally he was from Hong Kong. He moved to Canada as a political refugee in 1979. Bich Ha, the mother, came separately, but she was also a refugee. Both of them came to Canada with nothing, absolutely nothing in their pocket. You know, you always hear about people coming to the United States. Well, this is a Canadian story where they went to Canada with absolutely nothing in their pockets and became a success.
Okay.
They married in Toronto and lived in Scarborough. Both Bich and Hann worked at Magna International, an Aurora, Canada-based auto parts manufacturer.
Oh,
Hann was a tool and die maker, and Bich made car parts.
gotcha.
And these two worked really long, really hard hours. And in 1986, they had their first child, Jennifer.
Okay.
3 years later, they had a son, Felix.
Okay.
The family lived this very frugal lifestyle, but they did spend their money on their children's educations and their futures, because Jennifer begins taking piano lessons at the age of 4.
Oh, wow.
And she plays competitively, like piano competitions.
Really?
Yes, and by the time she's in elementary school, she's got all these trophies to prove how good she is.
Nice.
Then she begins to learn competitive figure skating,
Hmm.
like really competitive figure skating, where she had her sights set on the Vancouver Olympics in
Oh, wow.
2010.
Wow.
She would have been 24 years old, which is a little old for a figure skater now. The average age is 22. I actually looked that up because I just kept thinking, gosh, when I seem to watch the Olympics, they look like they're 12. But I guess they are. The average age is 22. Like the lowest end is 14. The top age is like 28.
And the older I get, the younger they actually look.
That is true. They all look 12 eventually to us.
Yeah.
But some nights during elementary school, Jennifer would come home from skating practice at 10 p.m. She would do her homework until midnight. Then she would head off to bed. And the pressure was intense. She began cutting herself, like her forearms.
Hmm.
Jennifer was a straight-A student in school where she went at Mary Ward Catholic School.
Okay.
But Jennifer tore a ligament in her knee when she's figure skating, and the doctors told her that her skating days are over.
Hmm.
And I want to mention that Jennifer herself would say that while competing, she wasn't at the top of the podium, but more in the middle. And when she failed to win first place at skating competitions, she tried to hide her devastation from her parents because she didn't want to add to their worry and their disappointment.
Gotcha.
Her mother, Bich, noticed something was amiss, and she would comfort her daughter at night when Hann was asleep, saying, quote, "You know, all we want from you is just to do your best. Just do what you can," end
Right.
quote.
Which is, what most parents would say to their kids.
It is what most parents would say to their kids, but we're going to talk a little bit about that.
All right.
As an excellent student, Jennifer expected to be named valedictorian of her 8th grade class. She wanted to collect all the medals for all her academic achievements. Was this for herself? Maybe for her parents, for sure. See, according to many, Jennifer had what are known as tiger parents.
What are tiger? I know helicopter parents, but what are tiger
I
parents?
know. Don't you like how parents, if you're a parent out there, we're just getting labeled left and right?
They're categories
Left
now.
and right. Yeah. But a tiger parent is someone who very much watches over their child. They're very much about their success. Things like no watching of TV, no computer games, no sleepovers, no play dates. And you don't get grades unless they're an A. Like
Wow.
only an A is an acceptable grade.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a type of parenting that is common, according to the American Psychological Association, in Asian families. Quote, "We define tiger parents as those who practice positive and negative parenting strategies simultaneously. Tiger parents are engaging in some positive parenting behaviors. However, unlike supportive parents, tiger parents also scored high on the negative parenting dimensions," end quote. And according to other Asian kids on Reddit and elsewhere,
Okay.
quote, "My parents expected me to be at the top of my class, especially in math and science, to always be obedient and to be exemplary in every other way. They wanted a child who was like a trophy, something to brag about." And this kid goes on to say that his achievements and his siblings' achievements, they were all about their parents being able to match the achievements of their other family members or their friends. Quote, "I felt like a hamster on a wheel, sprinting to meet some sort of expectation solely determined by him," meaning his father,
Right.
"that was always just out of reach. Hugs were a rarity in my house, and birthday parties and gifts from Santa ceased around age 9. I was talented at math, figure skating, and though my father almost never complimented me, even when I excelled, he played down my educational achievements just like his parents had done with him. The prevailing theory in our culture is being flattered spoils ambition, end quotes.
Wow. Okay.
So basically, I mean, these are all Asian kids who have gone on Reddit to say, yeah, this is what it's like. If you have Asian parents, they have a certain mindset, especially immigrant Asian parents.
Yeah.
And their lives have been incredibly difficult. Their parents' lives have been incredibly difficult.
Okay.
And while a small minority of them want a trophy kid, most want a kid who has a good career and a good future.
Right.
Like they want their kids to be successful.
Sure.
They want them in a field that makes a lot of money, and they are controlling, and their kids lose out on a lot of experiences that other kids have. But most Asian kids have said on Reddit that they wouldn't trade their life for anything else because they also get an immense amount of support that other kids don't.
Right. Well, I mean, every parent wants their kid to succeed and to get a good job and blah, blah, blah. However, when you leave out that component of reward and encouragement and, affection and things like that, I can see where that would.
Yeah. I mean, it's a delicate balance. You have to, I mean, not that I'm some expert in parenting just because I've raised two of them, but you want to be fair and firm at the same time, and
Sure.
you want them to go after their dreams, and you want to be supportive as well. Our rule was always, if it's not fun, then it's time to quit doing it,
Right.
Right. And the kids were very successful in everything they wanted to do, but it was never going to be the pressure that maybe like a 20-something would get in college when
Right.
they're 10 or 15 years old.
Right.
Not worth it.
Yeah.
But Jennifer's parents, Bich and Han, are like this. They're tiger parents.
Okay.
Her father more so than her mother. But a lot is expected out of their children, and a lot is expected out of Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
They'd come to Canada with nothing, and they expected their children to improve upon their own success.
Okay.
Because by 2004, Bich and Han had enough money to buy a nice home with a 2-car garage in an area called Markham. And Han drove a Mercedes C-Class, and Bich drove a Lexus ES300.
Nice.
And they had about $200,000 in the bank.
Okay.
All told, the house, life insurance policies, cars, savings, they're worth about $1 million.
Okay.
So they're doing pretty well.
Sure.
And they expect Jennifer and Felix to do even better. And they've sacrificed a lot for their children to have the kinds of opportunities that they never had. I think that's a lot for parents.
Right.
When you give your kid an opportunity that you never had, you really expect them to take it for everything it's worth. Don't take it for granted.
Right.
Because you didn't have that opportunity. So you want that kid to have the opportunity you didn't.
Sure.
And sometimes it just doesn't mean the same thing to them that it meant to you.
Right.
And when Jennifer isn't named valedictorian and she doesn't get all of her accolades and medals, on top of which she's no longer skating, she's stunned. She's devastated. But she tells everybody that she's fine. And she puts on what she's later going to call her, quote, happy mask, end quote.
Okay.
She attends Mary Ward Catholic Secondary School, where, according to one of her classmates who's going to write an article for Toronto Life magazine, Jennifer was a social butterfly with a high-pitched laugh. She mixed with the boys and the girls, the Asians and the Caucasians, the jocks, the nerds, the art kids. And outside of school, she swam, and she also practiced the martial art of wushu.
What's that?
Which is Chinese martial arts. It literally translates to martial technique. Wushu and Kung Fu are both martial arts. They're the same thing, but Kung Fu means skills achieved with time and effort. But Kung Fu, which Bruce Lee put on the map,
Right.
is much more common. They say Kung Fu in the West.
Right.
But it is wushu, and the Chinese government calls it wushu, and that's what they want everybody else to call it too.
Okay.
Jennifer is 5'7". She's plain but pretty. She doesn't wear makeup. She wore little round wire-rimmed glasses. She didn't curl or style her hair. Sometimes she would do a ponytail and braids. Again, outwardly, she's a happy-go-lucky girl. But she's tormented by the feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt.
So she's got a lot of insecurities.
A lot of insecurities. She feels like she's not measuring up.
Right.
By her parents' standards, by maybe the standards she's put on herself, by the standards of the other people around her. But by the time she's halfway through her freshman year of high school, instead of making A's, Jennifer's making C's. and she's averaging 70% in most of her subjects, with the exception of music. Because remember, she's been playing piano since the age of 4,
Right.
and she really excels at this.
Okay.
But she didn't want to disappoint her parents, and she didn't want to be in trouble, so she used old report cards, scissors, glue, a Xerox machine, a copy machine,
Wow.
and she made herself new forged report cards,
Catch me if you can.
giving herself straight A's.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that because she's going to live a double life.
Yeah.
She really is.
Wow.
Now, you can't do that now.
Yeah.
Everything's online.
Yeah. Yeah. We were lucky when we were growing up.
Well, are you saying that you forged your grades?
No, because I wasn't smart enough. I couldn't figure it out.
Well, I just think of Matthew Broderick in War Games.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he goes in and changes goes in and changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there are not that many back doors anymore in the
No.
school systems, but
No.
now apparently in Canadian universities, they don't really look at your marks from grade 9 and 10 for admission. And Jennifer tells herself, this isn't a big deal because I'm not doing well in school. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to worry about it.
Okay.
Now, according to this article in Toronto Magazine, her dad was this classic tiger dad, and her mom, Bich, was pretty much a reluctant accomplice. That's what they called her.
Wow.
They watched over her extracurricular activities like a hawk. They did not allow her to attend school dances.
Really?
Yeah, her dad thought they were unproductive.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
All parties are off limits. Boyfriends not allowed until after university. And if she did get to sleep over at a friend's house, her parents would drop her off late at night and then pick her up early the following morning.
Wow.
And all of this means that by the age of 22 years old, Jennifer had never gone to a club. She'd never had a drink. She'd never visited a friend's house or gone on vacation without her family.
I have a feeling somebody's going to go off the deep end here.
Well, it's a true crime podcast.
Okay, here we go.
According to Jennifer's friend, her parents were, quote, absolutely controlling, end quote. And another said, quote, they treated her like shit for such a long time, end quote.
Wow.
By the time her junior year or 11th grade rolled around, Jennifer met Daniel Wong. He was a year older than she was. He was funny. He played the trumpet in the school band and in the marching band outside of school, so maybe like a competitive band of some sort.
Sure.
But these two were only friends until 2003 when the band was on a trip to Europe. That's a nice band trip, going to Europe.
Yeah, I was in a lot of bands, and I never went to
You
Europe.
never got to go to Europe with your band. But after a performance in a concert hall that was filled with smokers, they're in Europe, everybody's smoking in the concert hall.
Yep, everybody and their brother and sister and kid and
They must
dog and cats and
They must have been in France.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We love you, France.
oh yeah.
Jennifer's asthma kicked in and she had an attack. And Daniel took her outside and calmed her down, coaching her breathing. Quote, he pretty much saved my life, end quote. And later she said, quote, it meant everything, end quote.
Okay.
That summer, they started dating.
I'm sure that went over well.
Well, I'm going to tell you a few things about him in a little bit.
Oh.
And his parents they don't like him too much.
Okay.
During Daniel's final year in school, he switches to Cardinal Carter Academy, which is an art school. He was falling behind at Mary Ward and had also been charged with drug trafficking when he's pulled over and police find a half a pound of weed in his car.
A half a pound?
Oops.
Wow.
That's dealer.
Yeah.
That's being a drug dealer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to get a ticket for that.
You're going to go to jail for that.
Yeah.
But all through school, while she's off with the band and falling in love with Daniel or Danny, I've also heard him referred to as Danny, Jennifer's parents think their daughter is an A student. And in truth, she was starting to get a few B's, which is respectable for most kids, unacceptable in her strict household.
Right.
So Jennifer continued to forge her report cards throughout her high school career.
Okay.
She received early acceptance to Ryerson University, but then she flunked calculus in her last year and she didn't get to graduate.
Really?
No.
Whoa.
And then Ryerson says, taking back that scholarship.
Yeah.
You can't come to school here. No high school diploma, no university.
How'd that go over with her parents?
Jennifer lies and says that she's starting Ryerson in the fall.
Oh,
and the
man.
plan was 2 years of science, and then she's going to transfer to the University of Toronto's pharmacology department, which was her father's hope. He wanted her to be a doctor, but then told people that it was too much. Being a doctor was too much for her. The death, it was just, she had too big of a heart.
Right.
It was too hard on her.
Yeah.
But she could be a pharmacist.
Sure.
But her dad, Han, was jacked up over Jen's plan, and he even bought her a laptop. He was so proud of her.
Wow.
Then Jennifer goes out. She collects used biology and physics textbooks. She buys school supplies. In September, she pretends to go to freshman week. And when it came to tuition, she doctored papers stating she was receiving an OSAP loan, which is the Ontario Student Assistance Program, and convinced her dad she'd won a $3,000 scholarship.
Oh, man. Wow. Okay.
Now, what her parents do know about Daniel is that he is mixed race. He is Chinese and Filipino,
Okay.
and her parents did not like that.
Really?
They did not like that
Why?
because he's mixed race.
Wow.
That's what I read.
Okay.
They find out about Daniel when her mother comes to pick Jennifer up at the mall, and she sees Jennifer kissing Daniel. So the parents are like, okay, fine, you got a boyfriend, bring him home. Let us meet him. And they didn't like him. And they tell her to stop seeing him.
Jeez.
So she just keeps seeing him. And like everything else in her life, she keeps it secret.
Of course.
She would pack up her book bag and take the bus or the train downtown. Her parents think that their bright, brilliant daughter is off to class. And instead, Jennifer would go to public libraries where she would research on the web what she figured were relevant scientific topics and fill her books with copious notes.
Wow.
She'd spend her free time at cafes or visiting Daniel at York University, where he actually is taking classes.
Gee whiz.
She picked up a few day shifts as a server at Eastside Mario's in Markham. She taught piano lessons and later tended bar at Boston Pizza, where Daniel worked as a kitchen manager.
Okay.
Now at home, Han often asked Jennifer about school,
Right.
but Bich told him, don't interfere. Quote, let her be herself.
Okay.
Now I'm going to stop for a second.
Okay.
It seems to me that if you are putting this much effort into your ruse,
That's exactly where I was going with this. Yeah.
if you put that much effort into actually studying,
Yeah.
I don't know, just a thought, just maybe I'm being a tiger parent.
She's working harder at this than just going to school.
She's working very hard at the ruse. And it made me think of Chrissy Thompson in That Thing You Do, where she says, I'm stooping to subterfuge. And that is exactly what Jennifer is doing. She is stooping to subterfuge.
Wow.
But in order to keep up the charade, she doesn't just lie to her parents. She lies to her friends, too. She even told her friends that her dad hired a private investigator to follow her, which
What?
wasn't true.
Why did she say that?
Because she's paranoid.
Okay.
She's built all these lies.
Yeah.
Her life is built on lies. And I guess if you build your life on lies, I'd be paranoid too.
Yeah. You got a house of cards there.
About to fall.
Yep.
After Jennifer had pretended to be enrolled at Ryerson for 2 years.
She's put. Yeah.
This has gone on for 2 years.
Wow.
Her dad asks if she's still planning to switch to the University of Toronto, and she says, yes, I've been accepted into the pharmacology program. And her parents are thrilled. And she suggested moving in with her friend, Topaz, who lived downtown, for 3 nights a week.
Okay.
And Bich tells her husband, I think it's a good idea. And her mother's really her champion with her father, really her champion.
Right.
But Jennifer never stays with Topaz. Monday through Wednesday, she lives with Daniel and his family.
Whoa.
Jennifer lied to Daniel's parents as well. She tells them, oh, my parents are okay with this arrangement. It's not a big deal that I stay here 3 nights a week.
Wow.
And Daniel's parents had repeated requests for, you're going to love this, they wanted to meet Han and Bich over dim sum.
Oh, this is getting crucial now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After 2 more years, so for 4 years, she does this.
We're at DEFCON 3 right now.
4 years. After 2 more years, it's theoretically time to graduate as a pharmacist from the University of Toronto. And Jennifer and Daniel hired someone they found online to create a fake transcript full of A's.
Gee whiz.
And when it came to the ceremony, Jennifer told her parents that the extra large class size meant there weren't enough seats, and graduating students were only allowed 1 guest each. And she didn't want just one of her parents to be able to go. She didn't want the other one to feel left out. So she gave her ticket to a friend.
How convenient.
And $500 later, she had a fake diploma.
Gee whiz. I wish I would have known it was that easy.
Yeah, and I just don't get it. Here's the thing. If these are Tiger parents and they're at all her competitions for piano, for ice skating, wouldn't they want to be at her high school graduation?
Yeah.
How'd that get,
Yeah, I know.
just pushed under the rug?
Yeah.
I don't quite get that.
I don't get any of this.
Well, it's going to get worse.
Okay.
Jennifer developed a mental strategy to deal with her lies. Quote, I tried looking at myself in the third person, and I didn't like who I saw, end quote. But she later said, quote, my rationalizations in my head said I had to keep going, otherwise I would lose everything that ever meant anything to me, end quote.
But she didn't have anything.
It's all a lie, Jennifer. Yeah.
Wow.
Eventually, Jennifer's fictional career begins to collapse.
Sure.
Because while she's studying at the University of Toronto to get her pharmacological degree, she tells her parents, got this exciting new development. She was volunteering at the blood testing lab at Sick Kids, which is actually the name of the children's hospital. It's the Hospital for Sick Children, or Sick Kids.
It's kind of like St. Jude's here.
Yeah, this website is sickkids.ca.
Gotcha.
And she tells her parents that sometimes her job required her to work late nights on Fridays and on weekends.
Yeah.
And
Wow,
maybe
it sounds like a bartender.
Yeah, and maybe she should spend more time during the week at Topaz's house. But Han noticed something odd. Jennifer had no uniform to work at Sick Kids Hospital and no key card to get in and out of anywhere at Sick Kids Hospital. Now, I've already said that it's odd to me that it's at this point he thinks something's hinky.
Yeah.
No high school graduation, never heard an excuse for the other college graduation, the first one to switch to the University of Toronto. But it's that she doesn't have a key card that now he thinks something is hinky.
Right.
So 4 years of lying, and now it's hinky.
Right.
So the next day, he insisted that they drop her off at the hospital. And as soon as the car stops, Jennifer gets out of that car and runs into the hospital. And Han tells his wife, Bich, you get out of the car and follow her.
Jeez.
And she knows her mom is following her. So Jennifer hides in the waiting area of the emergency room for hours.
Wow.
Until they leave. Early the next morning, they call Topaz. And Topaz answers the phone. She's half asleep. And she says, Jennifer isn't here. So the parents are like, well, wait a minute. She's living there with you these few days a week. Why isn't she there? And Topaz is half asleep. Sorry, Jennifer isn't here.
Okay.
And now, after 5 years,
Jeez.
The jig is finally up.
Yeah.
When Jennifer finally came home, Han confronts her. She confesses that she did not volunteer at Sick Kids and had never been to the University of Toronto's pharmacology department and had indeed been staying at Daniel's house.
Whoa.
Though she neglected to tell them that she never graduated high school.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Wow. So she just gave it all up.
No, she didn't give up the fact that she did not. They still think she graduated high school. They still think she went to Ryerson University for 2 years.
All right.
Yeah.
See, I'm having trouble following their lies.
Yeah. So that part is complete fiction. Volumes 1 and 2, high school in Ryerson.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I should have got a pen and paper. So.
I know, right? You have to start writing it down. Her parents reacted exactly as you might expect. Her mother cried. Her dad lost his shit. He was furious. He told Jennifer to get out and to never come back.
Wow.
But Bich convinced him to let their daughter stay. And that was the arrangement. She could leave and they would excommunicate her from the family and cut her off financially for good.
Wow.
Or she could stay, see the error of her ways, go back to the start, do school the way she was supposed to do.
But they don't know about the fact that she didn't graduate high school yet.
Not yet.
Wow.
But Han gives her another option.
Okay.
He says, you can wait until I'm dead and then do whatever you want. That's called foreshadowing.
Yeah, Han, you probably shouldn't have said that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Jennifer decides to stay. She's going to stay with her parents.
Okay.
They took away her cell phone and her laptop for 2 weeks. This is a 22, 23-year-old woman.
Jeez.
So they take away her laptop, take away her cell phone for 2 weeks, after which she was only permitted to use them in her parents' presence and had to endure surprise checks of her text messages.
Wow.
They said, your relationship with Daniel is over?
Mm-hmm.
Over.
Yep.
Over. They ordered her to quit all of her jobs except for teaching piano, and they began tracking the odometer in her car.
Jiminy. Wow.
Now, Jennifer was madly in love with Daniel. She felt like he was the only one who knew her. And didn't he? He knew about all the lies from start to finish. Yeah. And when she was away from him, she was lonely. And for 2 weeks, she was housebound. Her mother sat next to her constantly. But Bich did tell Jennifer where her father was keeping her phone so she could periodically check her messages.
Okay.
So her mother is really, her mom is trying so hard. Bich is trying really hard.
Right.
Like, honey, get it together. And I know your dad's hard on you, but I'm here to sort of help you along.
You can do
Let
this.
me help you.
Yeah.
Let me help you. Help yourself, Jennifer.
Show me the money.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It makes me think it is an up at dawn pride sieging. What is it he says?
I can't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
That's her dad.
Wow.
But her mother is let me help you help yourself. Okay.
Yep.
In February 2009, she writes on her Facebook page, this is Jennifer, quote, living in my house is like living under house arrest, end quote. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is.
Yep.
But you've lied for 4 years.
You've earned this house arrest.
You really have.
Yeah.
She also posted a note, quote, no one person knows everything about me, and no two people put together knows everything about me. I like being a mystery, end quote. Well, Jennifer, I think you're a mystery to yourself because you've told so many lies you don't know what's what anymore.
Actually, I don't think you're a mystery. I just think you're a mess.
A hot mess.
Yeah.
Over the spring and summer, she snuck calls in with Daniel on her cell phone at night. She would whisper in the dark, I'm here, I'm here.
That was good.
Hi, honey, hi. Yeah. Eventually, she's allowed out a little bit. They give her just a little bit of freedom. And she enrolled in a calculus class to get her final high school credit.
Okay.
Still, in defiance of her parents' orders, she would visit Daniel in between piano lessons. And one night, she arranged her blankets to look like she was asleep. Then she sneaks out to Daniel's house, but she forgot she had her mom's wallet in her room. And in the morning, her mother goes into her room to get it, and she discovers Jennifer's gone.
It's like Alcatraz.
Well, I was thinking she needed Ferris Bueller's setup because hers sucks, apparently.
Exactly.
Bich and Han ordered Jennifer to come home immediately, young lady.
Yeah.
Get your ass home now.
Yeah.
They demanded that she apply to college. She could still be a pharmacy lab technician or a nurse. And they told her that she had to cut off all contact with Daniel. No more. Now, by this time, Daniel is super tired of all this BS. I mean, he's a year older than her.
Sure.
So he's 25, 26 years old. And he's having a secret romance with a woman who lives with her parents, and she has to whisper at night to him. Yeah. That's not the kind of romance you want when you're 25.
Yeah. You're in college, and whatever.
Yeah, she's still sneaking around to see her boyfriend.
Yeah.
But she's afraid of her dad's tirades, and she will not leave the house. So she doesn't want to be cut off. She's not leaving the house.
Yeah.
Now, something I haven't talked about are the text messages between Jennifer and Daniel. They use this sort of weird baby talk, and I read in one article that they referred to themselves as Mesa or Mesa, M-E-S-A,
okay,
instead of I'm, which made their baby talk on the phone sound like Jar Jar Binks. That's what somebody wrote in this article.
And we know how popular Jar Jar Binks was.
Well, I'm thinking to myself, what the hell does that sound like? See, now I got to go look up what Jar Jar Binks sounds like when he talks.
Yeah, he wasn't a well-liked character with Star Wars fans.
But what does he sound like when he talks?
You'll have to go listen to it.
Okay. They also had nicknames for each other, too. Daniel called her Monkey, M-U-N-K-I-E, or Monk Monk.
Okay.
And she called him Mr. Bubbles.
Excuse me while I go vomit.
And apparently that all had to do with the fact that Jennifer had a collection of stuffed monkeys.
Okay.
But these two stay in constant communication, even though he's like, I've had enough. They've also managed through all of this to have a sex life, if you can believe that.
When? How?
Well, according to the book, A Daughter's Deadly Deception by Jeremy Grimaldi, usually pressed for time and often without an appropriate venue, they frequently engaged in sex in, where do you think?
The bathroom.
Daniel's car.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Wow.
And apparently Daniel was a man with a high sex drive, and he would get Jennifer to sext him and share photos of herself with him.
Oh, man.
I'm just stopping for a second.
Okay.
If you send a dirty picture of yourself or a naked picture of yourself out into the ether of the web, the World Wide Web,
yep,
anybody can get it.
And it's there forever.
It's there forever. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Don't do it.
Nope.
And I'm not speaking from experience.
No, she's not.
Finally, Danny tells Jennifer, you got to figure out your life. And I don't want to hide anymore. And I'm breaking up with you.
Oh, wow.
And Jennifer is heartbroken. And shortly after that, she learns that Daniel is seeing a new girl. Her name is Christine. I've also read that her name was Katrina. Okay. But the story that follows is the same. It was shortly after this that the text messages started. The texts and the harassing phone calls to Katrina, Daniel, and Jennifer. Jennifer claimed that these were from Katrina and that she was threatening Jennifer's life. She claimed to find a bullet in her mailbox that she knew was from Katrina, all in Jennifer's misguided attempt to keep her claws in Daniel.
Right.
So she's telling him, this girl she's threatening me and she's leaving bullets in my mailbox and yeah.
Wow.
But it doesn't stop there because she even went further, claiming that her home had been broken into. Jennifer tells Daniel that a, quote, man knocked on her door and flashed what looked like a police badge. When she opened the door, a group of men rushed in, overpowered her, and gang raped her in the foyer of her house.
What? Oh, gee whiz.
I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
She's just making more stuff up.
Yeah. I don't think anything that comes out of her mouth is true.
She's the little boy who cried wolf. How do you know what's real and what's not real? She wrote long text messages to Daniel where her disdain for Katrina was obvious.
Yeah.
Quote, forward this to Katrina. Congratulations to you and your friends for winning and putting me through not only emotional pain, but physical. They raped me and beat me, and yet you win the only person that meant anything to me. Please just tell these people to leave me alone so that I may rest in peace and so that I may go easy. I have suffered enough, and I don't want to suffer in my last days.
Whoa.
Good luck, and take care of Daniel for me. He is everything to me, but sadly, I was never enough for him to love. End quote.
Wow.
That's some teenage angst in the 20s.
Yeah, you think? Jeez.
In the spring of 2010, Jennifer was in contact with a guy named Andrew Montemayor, a high school friend who she claims bragged during high school about robbing people at knife point. He has denied this, as you might when all of this comes out.
Sure.
When Jennifer told him about her torturous relationship with her dad, he confessed that he once considered killing his own father, something else he has since denied. The notion intrigued Jennifer, who began imagining how much better her life would be without her father around.
Wow. Okay.
And Andrew introduced her to his roommate, Ricardo Duncan, a, quote, goth kid, end quote, with black nail polish.
Okay.
Then it's over bubble tea in between her piano lessons that they hatch a plan for Ricardo to murder Jennifer's father in a parking lot.
No way.
At his place of work, a tool and die company called Kobe Instel.
Okay.
Now, according to Jennifer, she gave him $1,500 to kill her father in the parking lot at his workplace. Money from teaching piano lessons. That's how she gets this $1,500.
Wow.
And they agree to connect later by phone to arrange the date and the time of the hit. But Duncan stopped answering her calls. He ghosts her. And by early July, Jennifer realizes, I've given this guy $1,500 and he's not doing anything. I've been ripped off.
Right.
And Duncan says that she called him in early July, hysterical, requesting that he come and kill her parents. He said he felt offended, and he said no.
Yeah.
And that the only money she ever gave him was $200 for a night out, which he promptly returned.
Okay.
So that's the he said, she said
Sure.
of that one.
Sure.
Ricardo says, he says, no way. She said, kill my parents. And he's like, no.
Yeah. Not going to do it.
Then Jennifer and Daniel Wong are back in contact. Whether they're back together is debatable, but I think these two are kind of codependent.
Sure.
And it's at this point that Jennifer has, at this time, and according to the police, she's come up with a plan to hire a professional hitman for $10,000 to kill her parents.
Wow. She's getting serious.
She's calculating that she would then inherit $500,000.
Jeez.
So Daniel and Jennifer, they plan to move in together.
Okay.
And Daniel connected Jennifer with a man named Linford Roy Crawford. He's a Jamaican-born guy, and everybody called him Homeboy. And he gave her a SIM card and an iPhone, a burner phone, so that she could contact Homeboy without using her own cell phone.
Right.
Crawford contacted another man named Eric Sean or Sniper Carty, who in turn contacted Montreal-born David Milvagaman.
This is like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Well, it made me think of the Bless Your Heart, where you're like, one hit guy, hitman, called another hitman to do, who called another hitman.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that, but these guys are going to work together.
Okay.
Jennifer asked what the going rate was for a contract killing, and Crawford said it was $20,000, but because she's a friend of Daniel, it could be done for $10K.
Okay, so she got the friends discount.
She got the friends and family discount.
Okay.
And Jennifer was careful to use her burner phone, the iPhone, for crime-related conversations, and her Samsung phone, the one that her dad paid for everything else.
Okay.
Now, on Halloween night, Crawford visited the Pans neighborhood.
Are you saying Pan? Sorry, I had to say it one more time before it was over.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me, Smalls. But he visits the Pans neighborhood on Halloween night. He's scouting out the area.
Okay.
On the afternoon of November 2nd, the plan took an unexpected turn. Daniel texted Jennifer saying that he felt as strongly about Christine or Katrina, depending on which name you believe it is, as he did about her. And suddenly, everything's thrown into question because part of the reason she wants to get rid of her dad is so she can run off with Daniel, so these two can be together.
Gotcha.
So she texted Daniel, quote, "So you feel for her what I feel for you. then call it off with homeboy, end quote. So, wants to call it off.
Sure.
And Daniel responds, quote, I thought you wanted this for you, end quote.
Okay.
And she said, I do, but I have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And Daniel wrote back, call it off with homeboy. You said you wanted this with or without me, Jennifer. And she says, quote, I want it for me, end quote.
Okay.
The next day, Daniel texted, quote, I did everything and I lined it all up for you, end quote. It kind of seems like Daniel wants out of the arrangement. You know, he's like, okay, here it is. I'm out.
Yeah. I'm tapping out.
Yeah. But within hours, these two have reverted to their old ways of texting and flirting and sending pictures. And the reason we know this is because the police are eventually going to get all of this.
Okay.
Later that day, homeboy Crawford texted Jennifer, quote, I need the time of completion. Think about it, end quote.
Okay.
Jennifer writes back, quote, today is a no-go. Dinner plans out, so won't be home in time, end quote. Now, over the next week, there was a ton of text messages and phone conversations between Jennifer, Daniel, and Crawford, or homeboy.
Okay.
On the morning of November 8th, Crawford texts Jennifer, quote, after work, okay, will be game time.
Oh, wow.
And that evening, Jennifer watched Gossip Girl and John and Kate +8 in her bedroom, as you might, while you're planning the demise of your family.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Her father, Han, is reading the Vietnamese news down the hall before going to bed. He's going to go to bed about 8:30 p.m.
All right.
Bich is out line dancing with a friend and her cousin. Can't make any of this up.
Yeah.
Felix, her younger brother, was studying engineering at McMaster University. He is not home.
Okay.
At approximately 9:30 p.m., Bich comes home from her line dancing class. She changes into her pajamas and she soaks her feet in front of the TV.
Okay.
She's on the main floor of the house.
All right.
At 9:35 p.m., David, the friend of homeboys, called Jennifer, and they speak for nearly 2 minutes.
Okay.
And Jennifer goes downstairs to say goodnight to her mother, and then Jennifer unlocks the front door. It is now 10:02 p.m.
Okay.
Then she goes upstairs, and she turns on the light in the study. It switches on, then it switches off, and that is a signal to the guys. It's go time.
One if by land, two if by sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul Revere.
Yep.
At 10:05 p.m., David calls again, and he speaks with Jennifer for about 3.5 minutes. And moments later, homeboy, David, and a third man named Eric Carty, they just walk through the front door. All three are carrying guns. One points his gun at Bich, who she still has her feet soaking.
Wow.
And another one runs upstairs and shoves a gun in Han's face and directs him to get out of bed. Get out of the bed. Go down the stairs into the living room.
Wow.
Upstairs, Eric Carty talks to Jennifer outside her bedroom door. And according to Jennifer, Carty tied her arms behind her using a shoelace.
Okay.
And he directed her back inside, where she handed over approximately $2,500 in cash. Then to her parents' room, where he located $1,100 in cash in her mother's nightstand.
Okay.
And then finally to the kitchen to search for her mother's wallet. So what she's saying is, they tied me up. They dragged me around the house. Where's the money here? Where's the money here? Where's the money here?
Okay.
And her parents are downstairs together. And in Cantonese, Bich asks Han, how did they get in the house? And Han says, I don't know. I was sleeping. And then they yell at Han, shut up. You talk too much.
Wow.
And one of the intruders yells at him, where's the money? And Han only had $60 in his wallet, and he said as much.
Okay.
And then when he tells him that, they call him a liar. Then one of them pistol whips Han in the back of the head, and Bich begins to cry. She's pleading with the men, don't hurt us, don't hurt our daughter. And one of the intruders says, quote, rest assured, she is nice and will not be hurt, end quote. Now, Carty led Jennifer back upstairs. He ties her arms to the banister. While David and Crawford, or homeboy, they take Bich and Han to the basement, covered their heads with blankets. They shoot Han twice, once in the shoulder, and then they shoot him in the face.
Wow.
He crumpled to the floor. They shot Bich 3 times in the head, killing her instantly. Then they fled through the front door. They just ran out the front door.
Wow.
Now, Jennifer somehow managed to reach her phone tucked into the waistband of her pants. She dials 911.
Okay.
Her hands are tied behind her.
Oh.
While she's doing this.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm adding to the confusion. Go ahead.
Yes. Quote, "Help me, please. I need help. I don't know where my parents are. Please hurry." At the 34-second mark of the call, the unexpected happens. Han can be heard moaning in the background. He's awake, covered in blood. His wife is dead next to him. He crawls up the stairs to the main floor. Jennifer is yelling down that she's calling 911, but Han doesn't look to his daughter. He stumbles outside. He's screaming wildly, and he comes in contact with a neighbor who's just about to leave for work in the driveway next door, and the neighbor calls 911.
Wow.
And the police and an ambulance arrive at the scene just minutes later, and Han was rushed to the nearby hospital. He was airlifted then to Sunnybrook Hospital.
Okay.
Now, York Regional Police interviewed Jennifer just before 3 a.m. She told them that the men had entered the house looking for money, tied her to the banister, and taken her parents to the basement and shot them. 2 days later, the police bring her back again and ask her to give a second statement. And at their request, she showed them how she contorted her body to get to her phone, a flip phone, out of her waistband to place a call while tied to the banister, and her hands are tied together in the back.
Let's see you lie your way out of this one.
Well, she actually does a little demonstration, and they say, "How can you hear?" Because it's not a speakerphone, it's a little flip phone.
Yeah.
And she said, "I turned the volume all the way up."
Okay.
So
She's got it covered.
Possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
But holes begin to emerge in Jennifer's story. For instance, the keys to Han's Lexus are in plain view by the front door. And if it was indeed a home invasion, why did the intruders not take the car?
Sure.
And why didn't they have a crowbar to get in the house? Or a backpack to carry the loot? Or a zip ties to restrain the residents?
Right.
And most important, why would they shoot 2 witnesses but leave one unharmed?
Yeah.
Somebody who could identify them.
Sure.
The police assigned a surveillance team to monitor Jennifer's every single movement.
The walls are closing in.
By November 12th, Han woke up from his 3-day induced coma.
Wow.
He had a broken bone near his eye, bullet fragments lodged in his face that doctors could not remove, and a shattered neck bone. The bullet had grazed the carotid artery. And remarkably, he remembers everything.
Oh,
including 2 troubling details. He recalled his daughter chatting softly, quote, like a friend, end quote, with one of the intruders. And that her arms were not tied behind her back while she was being led around the house. The police tell Han not to speak to his daughter about this, and he doesn't. But when she does come to the hospital bed to see him, she says to him, you just want to take a guess?
At this point, I have no idea. None whatsoever.
I need money, $1,200 to pay for my college tuition.
Oh, geez.
So she's tried to have him killed.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Her mom is dead.
Right.
And the first time she sees him, I need $1,200.
Wow. What a daughter.
What a peach, man. What a peach.
That's a peach, hon.
Mm-hmm. On November 22nd, 2010, the police bring Jennifer in for a third interview. This one developed a little bit of a different tone. The detective, William Getz, said that he knew she was involved in the crime. He knew that she had lied to him and said, "Look, girl," I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
"Look, sister, it's in your best interest to tell me the truth." And Jennifer hunches over and sobs repeatedly, saying, quote, "But what happens to me?" End quote.
Oh, okay.
Meaning, if I tell the truth, what's going to happen to me?
Yeah, yeah.
He's friendly at first.
Right.
I will post a link to this interview in the show notes. He was friendly at first. He gets her to trust him, and then he goes in for the kill. He also lies to her, which is part of controversial interrogation techniques.
Okay.
It's outlawed in a lot of places, but he tells her, get this, we have infrared satellite images, and we can see what was going on in that house. We know how many people were in there, where they were going, and what they were doing.
Wow.
And you just need to tell me the truth.
That's a pretty good lie.
Yeah. But what she doesn't realize is, before they've been asking her questions as a victim.
Right.
And when she comes in this last time, they ask her, they basically read her rights, and she doesn't stop them. She doesn't say, I want an attorney,
Right.
nothing like that.
Yeah.
4 hours later, Jennifer has an explanation for it all.
Okay.
They weren't there to kill her parents. They were supposed to kill her. She had hired them to kill her because she had tried suicide. She'd botched it more than once. She'd given up on life, but she couldn't manage to kill herself. So she hired Homeboy, whose real name she didn't know. She's telling him, I don't know his real name.
Right.
But that's who was going to come in and do it for her. In September, however, her relationship with her father had suddenly improved, and she decided, I'm going to call off the hit. But somehow wires get crossed, and the men ended up killing her parents instead of her.
Yeah, okay.
And the police say...
It's like an Animal House.
They arrest Jennifer on the spot. In the spring of 2011, relying on analysis of cell phone calls and texts, they nab Daniel, they nab Cardi, and they get Crawford, Homeboy.
The whole gang.
And they charge all 5, including Daniel, with first-degree murder,
Wow.
attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder.
Yeah. Once again, you're not going to get a ticket.
Well, Daniel thinks, this is where I think is kind of interesting. Daniel thinks, I set it up. I gave him the hookup. I said, call this person who told you to call this person. And maybe I was in on some of the text messages. I was not there. I didn't pull a trigger. But Daniel's in another interrogation room, and he's spilling the beans, telling the police, no, Jennifer wanted her parents dead.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't her.
Oops.
Yeah. She wanted her parents dead.
Yeah.
And I only helped to set it all up. But they're like, dude, you're in so deep, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a little, too late.
Yep.
The trial begins on March 19th, 2014. It was expected to last 6 months. It stretched on for nearly 10 months.
Oh, wow.
More than 50 witnesses testified, and more than 200 pieces of evidence were shown in the court. Jennifer was on the stand for 7 days.
Jeez.
7 days.
Wow.
She's trying to explain herself, and she's trying to explain these text messages between her and Homeboy and Daniel and the calls and all. She's desperately trying to convince this jury that while she indeed did order the hit on her father in August of 2010, 3 months later, she wanted nothing of the sort.
Nice try.
Before the jury delivered the verdict, Jennifer appeared almost upbeat, playfully picking lint off of her attorney's robes.
Jeez.
And when the guilty verdict was delivered, she showed no emotion, but once the press had left the courtroom, she wept, shaking uncontrollably. For the charge of first-degree murder, Jennifer received an automatic life sentence with no chance of parole for 25 years. For the attempted murder of her father, she received another sentence of 25 to life to be served concurrently.
Wow.
Daniel and Crawford each received the same sentence. Cardi's attorney got ill during the trial, and his trial was postponed until early 2016. But in 2015, he received an 18-year sentence after pleading guilty to conspiring to commit murder.
Gotcha.
The judge granted 2 non-communication orders, one banning communication among the 5 defendants until Cardi's trial was complete, and a second between Jennifer and her family at the family's request.
Wow.
They did not want to speak to Jennifer.
Yeah.
Her father and her brother didn't want to speak to her ever again.
Yeah.
Her attorney addressed the order in court, quote, Jennifer is open to communicating with her family if they wanted to, end quote. But Han and Felix both wrote victim impact statements. Quote, when I lost my wife, I lost my daughter at the same time, he wrote. I don't feel like I have a family anymore.
That's sad.
Some say I should feel lucky to be alive, but I feel like I am dead too, end quote.
Oh, that poor guy.
Yeah. He's now unable to work due to his injuries, and he suffers anxiety attacks, insomnia, and when he can sleep, he has nightmares.
I can only imagine.
He's in constant pain and has given up gardening, which was his favorite thing, working on his cars, and listening to music. None of these activities bring him joy anymore. He can't bear to be in his house, so he lives with relatives nearby. Felix moved to the East Coast to find work with a private technology company and escaped the stigma of being a member of the Pan family.
Yeah.
He suffers from depression and has become closed off. Han is desperate to sell the family home, but nobody will buy it.
Yeah.
At the end of his statement, Han addressed Jennifer, quote, I hope my daughter Jennifer thinks about what has happened to her family and can become a good, honest person someday, end quote.
Now, that's a good guy right there.
Jennifer was sent to and is currently incarcerated at the Grand Valley Institution for Women in Kitchener, Ontario. Now, in May of 2023, the Court of Appeals for Ontario granted an appeal by Pan and her 3 co-conspirators on the first-degree murder charge and ordered a new trial.
Why?
It ruled that the trial judge had incorrectly instructed the jury to only consider 2 scenarios that would justify a first-degree murder charge. So instead of allowing them to consider other scenarios that would lead to second-degree murder or manslaughter charges.
Okay.
Quote, the question is whether there was some evidence that might have led the jury to rationally and logically have a reasonable doubt with respect to the elements of the first-degree murder count on the facts with respect to Pan's mother, but not have the same doubt on the facts as it related to Pan's father.
Oh, geez.
But they were not told, end quote.
Technicalities.
Technicalities. Eric Carty died while he was in prison, and the coroner is still investigating that. But both sides of the appeal are now able to request the decision to be appealed to the Canadian Supreme Court.
Okay.
I will keep you up to date on this one.
Amazing.
I want to tell you, though, in the United States, there are 250 cases per year where a child kills a parent.
Jeez.
And sometimes those people have been abused or they have mental illness or like Jennifer in Canada, they just want money or control.
Right.
But that is the story of Jennifer Pan. That's all I have to say about that. Hey, Hitch to Homicide listeners. Have you read any good books lately? Or have you listened to any good books? All of the Sex and Lies series books, as well as the Jane Doe series, are available on Audible and iTunes. Hotter than hell in half of Alabama, the Sex and Lies series begins with Sex, Lies, and Sweet Tea. There are 9 books to listen to in that series alone. Left as a newborn to die in a dumpster, she has no name. Tossed from foster home to foster home, she has no family. With no known past, she's deemed a perfect fit for a task force Washington denies exists. A selective assassin for the United States government, Jane Doe tracks down known terrorists on domestic soil. The Jane Doe books have been called a bit military, a bit assassin, and a bit genius. Start the new year by listening to a good book by me, Chris Calvert, on Audible or iTunes. Or if you'd like to read, go to chriscalvert.com and download some free books. And thanks for being a listener of Hitch to Homicide.
Wow. Well, Pan didn't seem like she was the best daughter in the world.
Jennifer Pan.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are you saying Pan? Oh, sorry.
I hope everybody is as much of a Step Brothers fan as you are. Before you go into your little shtick here, I've got my little Post-it note here. Okay. I want to thank Marissa Greenidge because in the In-Laws and Outlaws, she actually suggested this case.
Oh, nice.
And it was on my list. And I was like, Worlds Colliding. Thank you, Melissa.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, Melissa. We appreciate it. Well, let's just keep moving along. We'll do a little, well, bless your heart.
Well, bless your heart.
All right, here's our first one, number 4. Mom always said you need your veggies.
Okay.
All right. A man tried to rob a Glasgow bookmaker while armed with only a cucumber a few years ago. However, he was soon tackled to the ground by an off-duty police officer when it was clear that a harmless vegetable wasn't going to be much of a threat.
How big was the cucumber?
Well, here we go. Gary Rowe revealed his weapon of choice covered in a black sock at a female worker at Ladbroke, Sheltonston, demanding cash. After she refused, Ruff was pinned down by the officer and quickly arrested. He told the police officer it was all a joke before asking, am I getting the jail for this?
The jail?
Yeah, that's what he said. Am I getting the jail for this? He was jailed at the High Court in Glasgow in 2014 after admitting assault with intent to rob.
I have to say it. Is that cucumber in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me?
He wasn't happy. All right, the next one. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Okay.
This one is on the less than epic end of the spectrum.
Okay. Well, it is a bless your heart.
Yeah.
So,
well, when 2 aspiring criminals attempted to open an ATM machine with a blowtorch, they suddenly understood the big mistake they'd made.
okay.
They successfully melted through the heavy metal frame surrounding the all-important cache and were inches away from success. However, they reached the pile of paper notes that they were after and mistakenly set them on fire to the entire thing, leaving nothing but a criminal record. Sorry about that.
Damn. That is unfortunate.
Yeah. All right. Number 3, but officer. Police had taken Sovi, and these names I'm probably going to mess up, but I'll try.
Like I didn't mess up a bunch of names in this past podcast. Sorry for that.
Police had taken Savoy into custody on December 28, 2019, after they responded to a suspicious activity in a home he was occupying with a female acquaintance, the report said.
Okay. A female acquaintance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Cops said they discovered Savoy possessed a handgun, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia during the initial search.
It's just another Saturday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Multiple other firearms were discovered in his truck at the scene, the report said.
Okay.
But as he was being strip searched after the arrest, police reportedly found the additional surprise weapon concealed in his rear end.
In his ass.
The pistol, get this, the pistol was more than 4 inches long with a 2.5-inch barrel. He was sentenced to a 5-year suspended prison sentence during a court hearing. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. He received 3 years probation and an order to serve 90 days in the Lafourche Parish Jail, the outlet reported.
He didn't have like an extra pocket or something to put it in?
Lord, as part of the terms of his probation, he's barred from owning or possessing firearms, visiting bars or lounges, indulging in excessive use of alcohol or illegal drugs, or getting depends. No, I'm just kidding. I added that last part.
I was going to say, or sticking anything else up his rear end.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right. And last but not least, I'm calling this one Taco Hell.
You know I love a good taco.
Yeah. A 30-year-old man in Washington was arrested last Friday for shooting up a Taco Bell because it was closed and the employees inside wouldn't make him food.
That's a man who really wants a taco. I've been there before, but not this desperate.
According to reports, the man pulled up to the drive-thru window around 2 a.m. while employees were closing up. They told him they were closed, and he got incredibly upset and began banging on the glass, threatening to break in. He eventually left and parked nearby. One of the employees was leaving when they heard a gunshot. They called 911 to report the man had shot at them. Police arrived, and he was hit with multiple charges, including, you guessed it, DUI.
Oh.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. You know what, dude? There's lots of places that are open late. But when you got to have a taco, I get it.
Yeah.
When you need a taco.
Yeah. It's kind of like Whitey Cassell's at 2 a.m. in the morning. You got to have it.
That's right. Well, if you have a bless your heart or you need a taco, I always say I eat 3 tacos and it's 1 taco too many every single
Exactly.
time.
Exactly.
Go to hitchtohomicide.com. There's a pull-down menu. You can also suggest a case. We would love for you to do that, just like Marissa did for this one.
Thanks, Marissa.
That's my amazing husband out there.
That's my beautiful bride in the booth.
Join us next time on Hitch to Homicide.
Bye, y'all.